The issue is not whether porn is right or wrong. The issue here is that he keeps lying to you and there is no change in behavior. Also, it seems as though you have not actually enforced your boundary. But let's reframe. So this isn't really about porn. This is about your boundaries not being followed, which is a betrayal. Hello and welcome to the Pleasure Principles podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jordin Wiggins, your guide to helping high-achieving women be as badass in the bedroom and relationships as they are in business. I help successful women who feel unfulfilled and disconnected create more intimacy, joy, and pleasure in their personal lives. As author of The Pink Canary, naturopathic doctor, pleasure and intimacy coach, I know hustle culture has taught you that doing it all is the key to fulfillment, but it is draining your energy and killing your intimacy. My mission is to guide you down the pleasure path, reigniting your desire, reclaiming your feminine power, and helping you feel deeply supported, all while thriving in your career. Today, we're tackling a question that so many high-achieving women struggle with. What to do when your partner is addicted to porn. And also what to do when your partner has ED is another common topic to come on a previous episode. But if you have a partner with ED issues and you want to hear more on that, send me a DM on Instagram at Dr. Jordin Wiggins. Okay, so this high achiever writes in, my partner appears to be addicted to porn. I've confronted him, set boundaries, brought it up in couples therapy, but he continues to lie and hide it. I check the search history, embarrassingly, and get the credit card statements. I'm the primary breadwinner, and I see the bills. I don't trust him anymore. This has been going on for over 2 years. I've threatened to leave several times. We have young kids. He's a good dad. And I don't want to stay in a loveless relationship where I feel like I'm being used as the financial and emotional glue to our household. And I definitely don't want to keep competing with women online. What do I do? First, let's challenge the term porn addiction. It's used a lot, but there is no scientific consensus that pornography is inherently addictive. Unlike substances like drugs or alcohol, pornography does not meet the clinical criteria for an addiction, as outlined in the DSM-5 or the ICD-11. Okay, so when we were looking to make a diagnosis, porn doesn't meet them, and it's for a few reasons. There's no biological withdrawal symptoms. Some studies suggest that porn can activate dopamine pathways similar to other pleasurable activities like eating, exercise, video games. However, it does not mean it's addictive. Many rewarding activities increase dopamine without leading to addiction. Also, while some people feel compulsive urges towards porn, the vast majority do not experience significant impairment in daily functioning. So, medical community is not buying that porn is a full-on addiction. Just wanted to make that clear because the term gets thrown around so often. Let's go back to the question. Calling it an addiction can be convenient because it's shifting the focus to his struggle, his sickness, his need for help, instead of what we need to be focusing on, what this has done to you. We can take your power back when you focus on yourself, what is in your control. And that is not overgiving, doing, and fixing for someone. And I am not saying that porn is not a problem here. It clearly is for you. And that is the only thing that matters. So you said you've set boundaries, you've done the couples therapy, nothing seems to be working. And it sounds like you don't want to be married to somebody lying to you and somebody watching this much porn. It appears as though you've been clear, you've set boundaries, and the issue is not whether porn is right or wrong. The issue here is that he keeps lying to you and there is no change in behavior. Also, it seems as though you have not actually enforced your boundary. But let's reframe. So this isn't really about porn. This is about your boundaries not being followed, which is a betrayal. Like you are asking him to stop, he's not stopping. That's a betrayal. And boundaries are something that you put in place for you. A boundary is not, I don't want you watching porn, or I don't want you consuming it at this level. A boundary is, here is what I am going to do for me if this continues. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I don't hold back when it comes to calling out the real reasons why women are struggling with low libido, intimacy, and connection. But there are still some conversations that need more depth, ones that go beyond what I can share in an open forum. That is why I created The Pleasure Path, the alpha woman's guide to feeling fulfilled. A brand new private podcast designed exclusively for high-achieving women who feel like they've tried everything, but still aren't getting the results that they want in their relationships or in the bedroom. This is my most in-depth, transformative work yet. Raw, real, and packed with insights that I've used to help thousands of women finally reclaim desire, connection, and joy. Raw, real, and packed with insights that I have used to help thousands of women finally reclaim their desire, connection, and joy. Why did this series have to be private? When I work with high-achieving women, I see the same patterns over and over again. You're exhausted, holding it all together, and still feeling unseen or unsupported in your relationship. You're constantly over-functioning, but your partner is checked out, leaving you feeling like more of a roommate than a lover. You've tried therapy, you've read the books, maybe you've even had your hormones checked, but nothing is really fixing the problem. And worst of all, you think it's you, but I'm here to tell you it is not your fault. There's an entire system of conditioning that has trained high-achieving women to excel everywhere except their relationships and pleasure. It's breaking out of that conditioning that requires real, unfiltered conversations, the kind I can't always have on a public platform. That's why I had to create The Pleasure Path as a private podcast, so I could go deeper, so I could say the things that no one else is saying as it relates to being a high achiever. And so that you can finally get the tools, stories, strategies that will actually shift your reality. But don't take my word for it. You'll hear from alpha women just like you who have been exactly where you are right now. And it gets better. In episode 1, I dive into the 10 signs of anhedonia. And here's the truth. This isn't just another podcast. It's a roadmap for high-achieving women who are ready to finally feel desired, connected, and fulfilled in their relationships and in their lives. If you are ready to stop feeling exhausted and unseen in your relationship, to reignite passion and connection without forcing it or being fake, learn how to shift from over-functioning, over-giving to actually receiving, to finally understand why nothing has worked before and what actually will, then The Pleasure Path was made for you. But because this is a private podcast, you need to be on the waitlist to access it. Go to thepleasurecollective.com/alpha to join. And once you're on the list, you'll get every episode delivered straight to your inbox. This is your invitation to take the next step towards a completely different experience of intimacy, connection, and pleasure. You've done everything else. Now let's do the thing that will actually work. head to thepleasurecollective.com/alpha and join the waitlist, because you deserve a personal life, a relationship, and pleasure in and out of the bedroom. I can't wait for you to experience what's inside. I'll meet you there. You told him you would leave if it didn't stop. It didn't stop. You are still there. And now this isn't to blame you, not in the slightest. I'm just pointing out the areas where you are not in alignment. There is zero honesty, there is zero judgment, just radical honesty and love. There are hundreds of reasons why women don't leave, and I am not a victim blamer. That is a podcast in and of itself. And as a survivor of intimate partner violence, I would never judge anyone for not leaving. But we need to be radically honest. So why are you not ready to leave? Why are you staying with somebody that lies to you? Because he's a great dad? Let's be real. Would a great dad prioritize porn over his partner's well-being, over losing his partner's trust? Would a great dad lie, gaslight, spend the money of the mother of his children? So I'll be honest, when I hear great dad, my pussy senses tingle. Because, I don't know, when I hear great dad, great husband, he's so great, they're usually not that great. Maybe you don't want to leave because of the kids. The ideal of the nuclear family, and that it has been baked into us for generations and since we were little girls. But I want you to ask yourself, do you want your children growing up witnessing this dynamic between the two of you? So the dishonesty, the secrecy, the disconnection, kids pick up on that. It's not what we say, they're following what we do. They are picking up on everything, even if you are discussing it behind closed doors. Maybe the fear of the unknown, maybe the fear of being a single mom. That is okay. Leaving is hard. And so is staying in a relationship where you are disconnected, lonely, unsupported, sexually unfulfilled. That is hard too. And loneliness is like smoking the equivalent of 15 cigarettes per day. So this is actually killing you. Not an exaggeration, scientific fact. Remaining in an unfulfilling relationship is shortening your lifespan. I get into this in way more detail in my private podcast series, The Pleasure Path. There's so much here. Let's talk about trust. Well, I want to talk about trust and I don't want to talk about trust. So you say you feel embarrassed for checking the search history. You had the intuition that he was lying. Now you have proof and evidence. So that's not something to feel guilty about. That is facts. And if this is twisted or weaponized, that is something called DARVO. Deny, attack, reverse, victim, offender. Okay, when the issue is made, the issue really is the porn use and the lies. And if it is made to be about you checking the search history, that is confusing the issue. We need to deal with one issue at a time. So having clarity, having proof, even when it hurts, I think is a benefit. If the truth destroys something, it should have never existed in the first place. Your pussy knows, your intuition knows. So even if you want to go snoop, it's usually because there is something there. And we want to be asking ourselves, why are we staying in a relationship where we feel the need to snoop? One of the biggest things that I see lacking in heterosexual relationships is consent and agreements. Most heterosexual couples never have real explicit agreements around sex, intimacy, fidelity. Like, porn use is a perfect example. Instead, we just rely on these gender roles, relationship roles, unspoken assumptions, which are shaped by culture, outdated relationship roles, for one, that prioritize male pleasure and female tolerance. I want you to hear that again. If you are in a heterosexual relationship, you have probably created assumptions around everything in your relationship that prioritize male pleasure and female tolerance. That is why there is 1 in 2 women that have sexual dysfunction in their lifetime. 1 in 2 women will experience intimate partner violence. Women are 4 times as likely to be prescribed an antidepressant than a man. Now, the funny thing about these statistics is they're focused on the woman. But what we really need to be looking at is her environment and the relationship constructs that prioritize male pleasure and increase female tolerance, because no wonder we are depressed and burnt out and exhausted and don't want to have sex. A relationship without clear agreements is a relationship without true consent. And without consent, there is no trust, no intimacy, no safety. And that is the number 1 thing a woman needs to truly open and blossom sexually. So you didn't consent to being in a relationship with this much porn use, with porn taking precedent over your desire and connection in your relationship. You didn't agree to secrecy, lies. And yet here you are. You're left to tolerate it or leave. And that is a shitty fucking position that your husband is putting you in. This is why real explicit agreements matter. Couples need to have open and honest discussions. And this is a framework that I am giving my clients so they can turn these things around. And these are not like the agreements that you made when you were 25 are not going to be the same at 55. But we definitely need to have discussions around what fidelity means, what feels like betrayal, what feels safe. How do you want to engage in technology, in sexual content? Because I am pro-ethical porn when there are agreements in place. So for some people, engaging by liking a sex worker's content online, that would be crossing the line, and that doesn't feel safe. Some people wouldn't care if they were paying to chat with a sex worker because it takes the pressure off them when they don't feel like having sex. What would full transparency and mutual respect actually look like in practice? Have you had these conversations? Pretty sure if you're listening, you probably have not. And I want to be clear, this is never about controlling our partner's behavior or suppressing desires. It's about creating a relationship where both people, not male pleasure and female tolerance, where both people can truly feel safe, seen, desired, respected. That's the goal. So where do you go from here? The first thing is you have to decide what you want. What do you desire? Do you want to stay in the relationship? Do you want to stay in the relationship that you actually have today? And this is hard because I've been there, my clients have been there. And if we are truly honest, radically honest with ourselves, the answer is no. We don't want to stay. We feel like we have to, but we can only heal a situation if it starts from radical honesty. Usually by getting radically honest and deciding that this is not for you is what actually puts the pieces in place to heal the foundation. Number 2, we kind of need to shit or get off the pot with this boundary situation. So, and I had a coach tell me this, and I will never forget, but he said, if you are done, be done. Make a plan, get support. But if you're not ready to leave, let's get real about what the reality of staying means and what it means you have to accept. But if you are choosing to stay in this relationship where your husband is refusing to change his behavior, like, what does that look like for you? What does acceptance of that looks like? Because where you are now in the messy middle, it's torture. It has to feel like torture. And the third and probably most important thing is stop waiting for him to change. This physically pains me as a high achiever, and I have to constantly remind myself of it because it is our default to fix. Stay and make better. And that is the nature of feminine essence. Take what we are given and make it better. We literally take a sperm and turn it into a whole ass human. I say that with like some jest, but also it's true. But that doesn't mean keep taking piles of steaming shit and turn it into gold. Okay? I do really think that women are magic, but anyone having to do that much alchemy, it is fucking exhausting, and it is costing you way more than you are gaining. So take what we are getting, but what we are getting should at least be of equal value. So we need to start looking at his actions. He's showing you who he is. You need to believe him. The real work is not fixing him. The real work is going to be you sitting in your uncomfortability and deciding whether you are willing to continue in a relationship where your needs are ignored and your trust is repeatedly broken. And that is shit. And do you know the number of high achieving women that I have helped through this exact position or something very, very similar? Because as women, we are conditioned to give and give until our pleasure tanks are empty. Society tells us to be understanding, to work harder to fix it, to be patient while men figure it out. But something that we need to remember is that you are not here to be a receptacle for his trauma and tolerate a life yearning for what you do not have. The cost is too great. And this is vice versa, men for women too, right? Like this, I'm not just saying that this is a man problem, but I'm answering the question. You are here for deep, passionate, fulfilling intimacy, a partner that fills you up. So you can turn around and do the same for your kids, for him, for your family, for your career. You're here for the kind of love that doesn't require you to seek approval, to beg, to pretzel yourself, to prove yourself, to perform. So the question really is, alphas, are you willing to choose yourself? And in choosing yourself, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to leave your relationship and blow up your whole life. But choosing yourself, getting the support to choose yourself, that is inevitably the first step in healing.